Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, guys. It's your brother here, Ali Haidar, and welcome to In Conversation with Ali Haidar. Behind the cameras today, joining us is our brother Rashid. Wa alaikum salam. So you won't see him, but inshallah you will hear him. He'll chime in a couple of times through this podcast, inshallah. Since 2011, there has been a 1.5% increase in Muslims in our beautiful country, Wales. And the brother that's joining us today, Alhamdulillah, has reverted to Islam since 2019 and has been instrumental in gathering some of these Revert brothers together to give them a warm welcome to our ummah. I am so thrilled to introduce to you our guest, Brother David. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalam. Pleasure to have you. And pleasure to be with you.
Pleasure, absolutely. How was your journey here?
Alhamdulillah, very good. It's a nice, convenient place, not too far away.
Yes. And you're from the not so sunny Kafili, right?
That is true.
Beautiful. Okay, wicked. Look, brother, the reason why we've kind of asked you, first of all, I just want to thank you for joining us in the first place.
It's my pleasure.
The reason why we've asked you to come here is because I've got to know you a little bit, to be honest, over the last few weeks. And Alhamdulillah, we've seen that you're very inspiring with some of the stuff that you do. You said that you get involved with some of the community, right? So it would be a pleasure if you could tell the audience members and us a bit more about some of the stuff you do with the community where you bring some brothers together.
Of course. Bismillah. So, being a revert of only a few years now and having the opportunities to meet Muslims of many different backgrounds, some completely brand new and, from the UK or, just from down the road, that sort of thing. And I know it can be a little bit challenging for some people to maybe come out their shell, if you will. You've just done something very big. You're still new to everything. You're still maybe learning the prayers, and it can be a little bit overwhelming at times, maybe perhaps a little bit intimidating as well.
Yeah.
So what myself and a few others have been trying to do over the past few years is just trying to organise meetups around the UK, whether it just be in Cardiff, Newport, Birmingham, London, whatever it may be in the UK, of other Revert brothers, and just try and show them that, there are people just like you, whether it be a white British-born Muslim who's only said the Shahada only a few weeks ago or days ago, or they've been Muslim for a long time now, many years. I've met brothers who've come on these meetups who've been Muslim for decades at this point, Some with no knowledge of Islam, they're very early days into it, and some who are literal shaykh, that sort of thing, and graduates of, I don't know, Medina University, off the top of my head, that sort of thing, as a revert.
Yeah.
And it really has been my pleasure and honour to help facilitate that, where they can meet other brothers from maybe different backgrounds, socioeconomic, maybe even different ethnic backgrounds, and bring them together and show that, we're all in this together. You can meet new people and make amazing bonds and friendship along the way through the beauty of Islam that unites us all.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Bro, you talked about how much you support the brothers who come in, whether they're knowledgeable or not knowledgeable. And it's going to be interesting because today's topic is how you found your way to Islam. And it's going to be really interesting to understand how you felt when you were coming back to Islam, alhamdulillah. Now, my first question to you, bro, is the moment that you took the Shahada, that moment, we didn't get to do that because obviously I was born Muslim, but I've seen it happen so many times in different masjids where brothers take their Shahada, and it's just that for us, watching the brother, the feeling is amazing. But I've never been able to kind of understand what it would feel like for someone on the other side. So tell us about how you were feeling when you took that Shahada.
So when I took my Shahada, October 25th, 2019, it was in Darul Isra Mosque in Cathays, Cardiff. It was right away after Jummah on that Friday. And it was, for me, myself, just in the sort of manager's office, it was myself, Brother Martin, it was Brother Tanvir, and it was also the mosque manager, Dr. Jabir of Dar al Mosque. And we just had a conversation, went through what is Islam, the basics of the faith once more for myself, to just make sure I had the full knowledge of everything, you know. And I then said my Shahada in that little office back there on that day. I personally wanted a little private moment. I know some brothers may prefer to do it in front of the congregation, but for myself, I wanted a private moment. But I can truthfully say that it was just a moment of nerves, but also a moment of just overwhelming happiness. And I truly mean that. It was a very scary moment for me, don't get me wrong, to actually finally do it after many years of looking into Islam. But it was just a moment of just absolute clear happiness as well. Like I was so overwhelmingly enjoyed of having the opportunity to do it. And I finally did it. And it's like, oh yes, it's done now. Yeah. I've been climbing the mountain for so long, and I'm now reached the summit, as it was.
Yeah. And you mentioned that preparation, you know, after so many years of looking into it. So many people, there might be people in the audience members, I guess, who are watching this now, who may be in a position where they don't know where to start to understand Islam. And it looks like you put yourself in that position where you prepared so well. What was it? What was part of your preparation? What did you look into? What was it that brought you into Islam? And yeah, I guess that key bit as well. What was it that brought you back to Islam?
For myself, I would say I started looking into Islam approximately when I was 14 or 15 years old. I'm now 28 at the moment, and I've been Muslim for 5 years. But it was, I'll never forget it. I've obviously known all about Islam all my life, you know, through the news, various media. I'm a bit of a history nerd myself. That's just myself. So, for example, I used to love history of North Africa, history of the Indian subcontinent, history of Arabia, you know, and it would go from, you know, just general learning, you know, stuff on the news channels or stuff on the documentary channels, you know, and watching documentaries, reading books, you know. I got tomes and tomes of books on various subject matters, you know. Really, my house should be built of books on these subjects. But it was just from that, you know, learning little bits about Islam, you know, where it comes from, what it is. Nothing super serious, you know, when I was young, until I was approximately 14 or 15 years old. I remember doing my GCSEs. And in my school in Caerphilly, St. Martin's, for the RE lessons, religious education, it was mainly a focus on Christianity and Judaism. And then I distinctly remember this. It was like almost like a tick box exercise of like, here's one lesson on Islam, and we're just copying down from the board the basics to writing the book ready. And it was, okay, founded so and so this year in this location in Mecca, okay, black box in the desert, okay, that's called the Kaaba, etc. And I just went home and I thought, you know, I'm going to Google, you know, stuff about that. What is Islam, stuff like that. And, you know, I'm not saying Wikipedia is the best source, but it's literally just stuff like that. Just going from that and learning more about it. Oh, okay, that's what that is. Okay, monotheistic, Abrahamic, okay, you know, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, born approximately 570 AD, Mecca, Arabia, you know, stuff like that. And just going from there. And then, you know, leaving school, going to college, meeting Muslims, just having a chat with them, you know, just general chat like we're having now about life and whatever it is. Yeah. And just going from that and just asking about, oh, you know, what is Islam? You know, have you heard about this thing, Ramadan is it called? Or what's that? Why is it you fasting? You know, why are you doing that? And then they would tell me as best as they could, you know. Yeah. And then also going for other things, you know, why do you do this? Why do you pray 5 times a day? You know, can you explain that to me? Yeah. You know, it's just general knowledge. You know, nobody wants to be ignorant. Yeah, of course. Of course. And just going from that. And, you know, leaving college, I eventually got my first job. And that was in Sky Call Centre in Cardiff Bay. Yeah. And going from there, meeting a lot more Muslims in Skye, you're in Cardiff Bay, more multicultural sort of area. In that sort of industry, you'll get many different types of people.
Yeah.
And, chatting to Muslims, whether it just be people born Muslim or other reverts at the time, I wasn't Muslim yet, and, men, women, just learning about them,
Yeah.
and then eventually them going, you like to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Have you ever read the Quran?
Yeah.
No, I haven't read the Quran. We can give you an English copy. Read it and tell me how you feel. You might learn. You seem to like to learn stuff. So I go home, read the Quran, and for me myself, it spoke to me, and I've always really struggled, brother, to really, and I truly mean this, to really articulate the feeling of reading the Quran.
Yeah.
It's not just like, okay, I'm learning. Okay, this is where this comes from. This is where that comes from. This is where this belief comes from.
Yeah.
But it was a genuine connection. I've never been fully able to articulate how it really felt. Even now, actually, when I'm talking about it, it's quite just a nice, loving, happy feeling.
Yeah.
Going from that,
Yeah.
and just learning along the way. When you speak to a Muslim of any background, they might say, "Oh, I can give you a pamphlet the mosque gives out for free, in the little hallway." Yeah, sure, I'd love it. And just like basic facts about Islam, 1 or 2 page pamphlet.
Yeah.
And going into libraries, bookshops, just reading, browsing the world history or the religious section, and just going from that. Then you learn about hadith, things like that. Then you learn about tafsir, as we would call it, of the Quran, and exegesis, just learning stuff like that from many different sources, speaking with sheikhs, speaking with maybe people who might know a few things about Islam by being Muslim. And for myself, it's just been self-learning from many different avenues and backgrounds, and I truly mean that. Yes.
Alhamdulillah. So, I think the biggest part that I got from you here in terms of why you converted to Islam was because you found a lot of Muslims around you through your walks of life, I guess, after college, then your first job, and also, I guess, probably where you work now, there's some Muslim brothers and sisters. Indeed. But you asked a lot of questions, and eventually someone gave you a Quran, and that's what spoke to you, right?
Indeed.
And I know how tough that is, because even for me, and you were telling me about your feeling of the happiness and joy that you get from the Quran, reading the Quran in general. It's, for me, there's certain parts of the Quran that I find that does that to me as well, right? There's certain parts that make me feel really happy, other parts that make me feel really emotional. But it seems like that was what pulled you, I guess, into coming back to Islam. Now, you've done the preparation then by reading all of this, by speaking to the right people. You've also met really nice people. Then you've gone ahead and finally made the decision to do the Shahada. You've felt great from it and you've enjoyed it. After you've done that, now it's time to come home and tell your loved ones. And I know this is quite a deep question, I guess. When you come home and you tell your loved ones, first of all, how do you feel while you're doing it? What is the feeling of the build-up while you're going home to get ready to tell them? And then, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us, what were the reactions like when you told your loved ones? And I'm not talking about just people at home, I'm talking about the people who are your friends who know the David before Islam, who hung out with the David before Islam, who didn't have a Muslim lifestyle, if that makes sense, or who may not have had that lifestyle. Tell us a bit about that.
I would say, in terms of friends, co-workers, friends, whatever it may be, that when I was telling them, they didn't really have a strong reaction one way or another.
Okay.
For whatever reason, they thought it was just okay, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Whatever makes you happy, good for you. But none of them ever really spoke out against it. Like, what are you doing? This seems a bit drastic or a bit silly. What are you, what's this about? Mm-hmm. Where's this coming from? Nobody ever said that to me. Mm-hmm. For my family, I would say that they had some reservations. They knew I was interested in Islam, and they had some worries about how I may be perceived by people, whether it may be people who don't like Islam, don't like Muslims for whatever reason, and they have a real axe to grind with that. It was more like my personal safety. So it was not really a theological issue as it was. It was more like, how are people going to treat you? Are you going to be othered?
Yeah.
In a way. So at the time, my parents were like, just wait, give it time, probably hoping I'd fall off the idea eventually. But when I eventually did it and I come home, they were like, okay, you're a grown man now. We can't tell you what to do. This is your life to live and for you to live it.
Yeah.
As long as you're a nice person and you don't hurt people or judge people, we're going to love you as our son and our brother. That was essentially their reaction to it. I remember that Christmas of 2019, and my parents, believe it or not, bought me Islamic thobes, as a present, and tasbees and stuff like that, like sandalwood tasbees, and I believe actually a book on Islam as well, like quite a thick book. I forget the name of it.
Go out to find that for you?
Yeah, well, they probably got it off Amazon or something, like books about Islam.
SubhanAllah. That's amazing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was more like, you're still our son, we still love you, like, here's some presents, but that you could have, Yeah. And I'm very grateful for that, to have a loving background and such caring and considerate parents and brothers and sisters. I'm very grateful to Allah for that.
Yeah, of course. Wow. Okay. It sounds like you've been so blessed through your journey.
I truly have. I've met many different people of all walks of life. Some I've just met once, but I still think about them, how polite they've been to me or how nicely they've treated me.
Yeah.
And I've been very blessed by God to have just had such wonderful experiences. I would really struggle to think of a moment where I've been maybe neglected or really forgot about, in a way, myself, that is, and maybe had a not so great situation about whilst being Muslim.
Yeah. You mentioned that with your friends, it wasn't too difficult for your friends to take it because you had probably loads of different friends from different cultures, or maybe even some Muslim friends at the time anyway. I guess one question that I think is going to be really, really interesting to hear your take on is the change in lifestyle. It's a topic I've heard a lot of brothers who have reverted back to Islam talk about, is the sacrifices they may have felt they had to make, or some of the challenges they found in changing the way they eat, let's say, for example, the things they drink, or whatever it may be, any of those things. What do you think was your number one lifestyle change that you might struggle with, or one that you're happy that you changed, I guess?
For me, myself, I would say, truthfully, not actually that much change for me.
Yeah.
I'm not a big drinker myself. I'll be totally honest with that. So you can't really miss what you don't really know. I would also say that I also, don't really come from a family of massive drinkers either. So it's not like that's a big thing. Often at a family party, you'd have me drinking a soft drink instead of something else.
Yeah.
So, that hasn't changed at all. I would also say, obviously, I wasn't a big, massive lover of pork like some people claim to be. Mm-hmm. Of course, I did eat it, bacon sandwiches, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that wasn't really difficult for me to give up. No, you just substitute with something else. You know, turkey bacon, if you will, or beef bacon, stuff like that. And so for me, myself, alhamdulillah, the changes have been quite easy to implement, and nothing's been quite a drastic, this is tough, this is terrible,
Yeah.
For me. I know other people may struggle with certain things.
Yeah.
Whatever their lifestyle is or whatever they like. But for me, it's been quite straightforward and easy.
What about things like Salah, right? Things like Salah, other things like, I guess, Ramadan. You've done 4 Ramadans potentially now. Is that right? 5 years?
It's been 5 years.
How have you kind of delved into that then? How have you put yourself into that?
I would say the Salah situation was definitely a learning curve. You're not going, because I don't come from a particularly religious family either. I would say, as most British people are, who are not Muslims, they're probably not particularly religious. You might go to church for a wedding, a funeral, and maybe a baptism, that's about it. So we weren't exactly sitting around the table saying grace with everyone holding each other's hands. We weren't doing that.
Yeah.
But I would say, yeah, implementing the Salah, which is obviously an obligation, was a bit of a learning curve, definitely, making sure that I'm definitely in a state of, I've done my wudu, I'm good to go, remembering to do that.
Yeah.
Waking up for Fajr or whatever it may be, or making sure I'm definitely doing the prayer. So as probably with any new Muslim, that's definitely a learning curve in and of itself, But you just get used to it, and it just becomes more natural day to day, minute to minute, whatever it is. You get an app on your phone, tells you when to pray, that sort of thing. Where's the Qibla? Perfect, Great stuff. So over time, that just becomes easy, Like before I even came to do this interview, I was like, okay, it's time for Maghrib. As soon as I checked my phone, I was like, okay, that was a couple of minutes ago. Let's go make wudu and do it straight away, without even thinking.
Yeah.
It's just, okay, I need to do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's learned behavior, right? Now
it's learned behavior. It's muscle memory. You just do it.
Okay. And obviously, when you first started, you're saying you struggled to get.
Struggled, yeah.
Yeah, of course. What about Ramadan? I mean, we're potentially in Ramadan right now when this finally airs. But what about Ramadan? How have you found Ramadan?
I would say the Ramadans I've had, because I become Muslim in October of 2019, so Ramadan was a few months after that. So we hit COVID. So you hear people telling you before I was Muslim and just after I become Muslim, like, oh, wait for Ramadan, you're going to love it, like the community, the vibe, everything. I didn't get that. No. I'll be honest, I just didn't get it. I was at home on lockdown.
Yeah.
So I did struggle with that. I was looking forward to this certain thing, and it just, for me, it just never happened at the time, because you're staying at home, saving the NHS, clapping for carers, clapping for nurses.
Yeah.
Not that that's a bad thing, but I was doing that instead of going to Tarawih every night, because all the mosques are on lockdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's going to do that. So that was hard. So I missed that Ramadan. And I believe there was the second Ramadan after that, so that might be 2021, where they still had a lot of restrictions in place to that time.
Yeah.
Where a lot of mosques were still doing the 2 meter distance, was it? Or 1 meter distance?
That was it,
And they're trying to get them in and out for the prayers as quickly as they can, especially on Ramadan, stuff like that. And I remember the first Eid prayer I ever did it wasn't in Wales, it was in a mosque somewhere in England. But it was quite a traditional ethnic mosque. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but the entire khutbah, if you will, was in Urdu. So I didn't understand any of course. So that was a bit like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that. But afterwards, you have everyone coming up to shake your hand nonetheless. I don't think we should have been shaking hands all the time, but people were. And, people saying, asking me, like, how long have you been Muslim and stuff like that. But it was a nice day. Everything was perfect. Otherwise, but it was a massive cultural shift, because I've never had to do anything like that.
Yeah.
As I can truly mean that. You come from a Christian background. Yeah. There's not really anything I can compare to, Ramadan or, Eid prayers. But slowly, like as myself, I'm sure with most people, the first few days of fasting are difficult.
Tough.
I remember I didn't do any preparation for fasting either.
Yeah.
Boy, that was a mistake. So yeah, the first week or so, you're like, oh, this is really difficult. What am I doing here? Yeah. But then your body just adapts like that.
Really does.
And by the day 6, 7, whatever it may be, it's okay. This is what we're doing now for the foreseeable. Yeah. And you just do that. And that becomes life. And in a way, I guess I was kind of blessed to have Ramadan at home. Yeah. The first few years, because you get to sort of learn the basics of it. Yeah. Watch online khutbah of various shaykh. Yeah. And you learn that way,
I actually think you probably ended up having a tougher first year of Ramadan than most people. Probably. Because I can tell you, during COVID, Ramadan was for me the hardest Ramadan that I've done since I was a kid.
I've heard that very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you to do that in your first year, and also be looking out to, to people to help you to understand the religion, your new lifestyle that you've chosen. Sometimes we look for help from people who might have that experience in life, I guess. And I guess you probably didn't have the opportunity, but subhanAllah, you went through it and you did the next year. And you said the next year was a bit more rewarding for you, wasn't it? Were you able to go to other places? Do you think COVID was the only challenge for you then, since reverting back to Islam? Because so far it seems really nice and it's been really smooth for you, alhamdulillah.
I would say, yeah, for me, it's all been smooth sailing on the whole.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, probably COVID and maybe interrupting various, maybe personal interrelationships, for example, in praying in the mosques, Eid, Ramadan, that sort of thing. I would say it's probably been the only interruption I've encountered myself so far.
Yeah.
Truthfully. Otherwise, it's all been smooth sailing for me. So apart from the COVID situation, and now that's ended, thank God, it's all been very nice for me. Going to the mosques when I can, meeting friends for tea in Cardiff or wherever it may be. It's all just been a pleasant experience, attending talks in the mosques, wherever it may be, meeting new friends and just meeting new people in general. That's just my personality.
Yeah.
Driving up to this city or that city for a day tripping.
Yeah.
Just going to mosques and just going around meeting people.
And that's what you like to do.
That's literally is what I like to do. My ideal hobby would be in my free time to maybe just try and visit every mosque in the UK and offer some prayer there.
Yeah.
If
have you checked which ones? Have you done the one in Brother Rashid? Help me out. Which one was it that we went to? Blackburn? Accrington. Have you been to Accrington yet?
I have not yet.
Oh, that's a good mosque. Beautiful.
I would say that I've been to a few mosques in Leicester.
Okay.
They were some very large mosques.
I can imagine.
And
They've
some
got
of
good
them
community,
amazing community.
Yeah.
It's amazing things I've seen, like some huge mosques I've been to, but also some small ones as well, very homely, very small. Some that look like they've just been taken out of Mughal era, India, on just the decoration inside and outside, the architecture of it.
Yeah.
Some which were quite modern, others maybe converted chapels or churches. I am hopefully soon going to maybe visit Swansea. That mosque is a big former church.
Oh yeah, I know, St. Helens Road.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And inshallah, I'd like to go there. I've maybe gone to London Central Mosque. I believe it's called Regent's Park.
Yeah, that's the one.
That was beautiful mosque. That was. I've also had the blessed opportunity in my life to go to Morocco a few times and pray in the Hassan II Mosque in Casablanca, and that was definitely the biggest mosque I've ever been. I think the capacity is over 100,000.
Yeah.
Wow, what a big mosque. Beautiful mosque that is in the North African style.
Yeah.
And inshallah, Mecca and Medina one day, or for Umrah or Hajj.
Inshallah. I pray that happens sooner for you rather than later.
Inshallah.
I mean, wow. Okay, cool. You've done some serious stuff there, to be honest.
Done some serious mosquing.
The serious mosque. I can't lie to you. It's one of the things that me and Brother Rashid have spoken about this quite a few times, to be honest. We've done a little bit of traveling around UK. I've done the Accrington one, the Cambridge one. Regent's Park is actually one that I was brought up around. I'm actually from that neck of the woods.
Really?
And I learnt to read the Quran there, to be honest with you. I also did an adhan there once as well. I won a competition to read the adhan there. That was fun. But I can't lie to you. You know what you were saying about the architecture in UK? I actually I think up until when I was in my teens, I was just like, there's not the nice mosques. I can't find a nice mosque around the UK because I come to Wales, and obviously with Wales we have such a small Muslim community. Alhamdulillah, it's growing quite a bit. But I just lost, I was like, unless we go to London, we're not going to find a nice mosque ever again. But turns out there's so many. So yeah, I would definitely say mosquing around the UK is definitely something to do.
It is. It's
absolutely.
Do your own Tablighi Jamaat and just visit different mosques and your own thing. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's especially with Wales, we still have I believe the smallest communities of the four home nations of the UK. But as you say, it is getting bigger, and with that, new mosques will be founded, developed, enlarged,
inshallah.
And inshallah, take on its own form. For me, if I was to have an unlimited pot of money, and someone said to me, "You're a British Muslim, white Muslim, indigenous Muslim, whatever you want to call it. I need you to pick a design for a mosque." Personally, I would say one that almost looks like a cathedral indigenously, so it matches the landscape and culture of the UK.
Wow. Yeah.
I know we have some which are very beautiful. They maybe look like they've just been pulled out of Mughal India, or some that maybe look like they've just come from North Africa. Whatever it may be, but I would say that if we're going to do British Islam, and for British Muslims, whatever it may be, to reflect our background, maybe something that looks like a cathedral worthy of the community, worthy of God.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing, with maybe some stained glass, which is we can do something like that. Of course, you know, we're not doing saints or anything, but we can have other things.
You illustrate that very well. I'm a very visual person, so I saw all of that. Fair play to you. Okay, brother. So look, we talked about your preparation to come into Islam. Once you prepared, we talked about how you felt when you finally did the Shahada. We spoke about how your loved ones reacted to you. And then we've now talked about some of the things that becoming a Muslim has enabled you to start doing, what you do in your regular lifestyle now. I guess, brother, I think potentially the audience who will be watching this will be, like I mentioned before, those people who are either struggling to come back to their deen, or brothers who are on the cusp of maybe reverting to Islam, or even brothers and sisters who were born Muslim but really have just not found a way to get into their deen, I guess. And this could be really encouraging, I guess, for them. I guess I'd like to ask you, what do you think? What message can you give these guys? What would you say to these guys from your side, and what's helped you? How would you encourage these brothers and sisters to come to Islam?
I would say what's helped me, myself, in this situation of coming to Islam, you know, or learning about Islam, is just get on with it. Get into meeting people, reading, that sort of thing. Go into the mosque if you can, or even if you don't want to walk into the mosque, call them, email them, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You know, speak to a Muslim. You know, try and speak to an imam if you can. Text, email, or phone call, and just find out what it truly is. You know, we can all want to be better Muslims or want to be a Muslim, and we might, for one reason or another, maybe some very valid reasons, have that hesitation. Mm-hmm. That's fine.
Yeah.
It'll take as long as it needs to, but you must also be practical and help yourself. Tie your camel, if you will. You know, it's not like God guides, of course, but you must also help yourself.
Yeah.
And whether that be taking small little steps day by day, you know, learning about it, speaking about it. You know, I remember the first time I went in a mosque, I was in my car terrified. I don't know why I was.
Yeah.
I was literally shaking, holding the wheel. I was genuinely, that was me.
Is that out of nerves or?
Yeah, probably nerves, fear of the unknown, if you will. And as soon as I got into the mosque, I saw a couple of old men struggling to take their shoes off, and that totally calmed me. I was like, oh, of course, it's just old people in here. I swear.
Yeah.
And just stuff like that. So I would say, speak to people, learn, be practical, speak to others around you. Like when we've done the other new Muslim meetups around the UK, it was just of a practical background of like, everyone says, you know, oh yeah, we should meet up, oh, we should do this. Do it.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't take much to plan something.
Yeah.
Just go for coffee. Yeah. Get a couple of brothers, maybe people who are reverts or interested in Islam, bring them along.
Yeah.
Even if their friends aren't Muslim or interested, just bring them along too, because you never know what might happen.
Yeah.
You get conversations going.
Yeah.
People see things, they see character, you know. There's a hadith of, I believe, the Prophet ﷺ saying to people going on an expedition or a meeting somewhere of, you know, even if you do one thing for me, or if you convey a message for me, just show good character at least.
Yeah.
Do that at the very least. So try and do that. You know, invite some people who are interested in Islam, take them to a coffee shop, whatever you want to do. Just pick up the bill for them. You know, I'm your brother in Islam. I can do this for you. Whatever it is, you know, a couple of chais, couple of cups of coffee.
Yeah.
What's that? £5 to £7 maybe.
Yeah.
Just do something like that. Just be practical and show good character with them, and just be around them.
Yeah. You know, even just taking what you're saying, again, like I said to you, it's really inspiring. This is what led me to start this project in the first place, just to see, it's the adab, isn't it, of a person, right? And I can't lie to you, like, things like these reminders really do help me to enhance what I'm doing when I'm practicing Islam, if that makes sense. And not just for me, for anyone watching right now, inshallah, that gives them a little bit more of a push to be better, inshallah. One thing I wanted to ask you before we end everything is, you spoke about some of the things that you do when you bring some of the new Muslim brothers together. Any plans for 2025? Anything there that you want to encourage people to attend, or any projects that for us to look out for, anything like that?
There are very early conversations of trying to get some of the gatherings of new Muslims or reverts, whatever you would like to say, back up and running, maybe in various cities. Could be London or Birmingham or somewhere else. I'd like to personally go to Norwich. I know that's a bit of a journey from South Wales, but because they have a very strong community of reverts there.
Yeah.
I believe some of them are 3 or 4 generation white Muslims now, because they maybe grandparents converted in the 60s and 70s, got married to other reverts, had children who were born white Muslims at that point, and then they've got married.
Yeah.
And then they've had children. So I'd love to see that. As you know, it's certainly a different thing to be around Muslims who look like you.
Yeah.
I hope I can speak honestly when I say that.
Of
course, as beautiful as our British Ummah is, when you're around Muslims who look just like you, it really is another thing. It's another level.
Yeah.
Speaking for myself.
Yeah, of course.
The person who's come to Islam, there's a comfort factor. But I know there are very early talks of trying to get that up and running around the UK. I know we've had some other organisations come along to some of our meetups to sort of ask us questions, how we do things, maybe learn best practice they've wanted to do. You know, some of these organisations are sort of quite well known.
Yeah.
I won't say too much about that. But it doesn't take much to plan it. You know, just pick a date, pick a location, and where you're going to have some lunch. That's all it is. Even if it's 3 brothers, that's it. And then eventually you'll talk about it amongst yourselves. You talk about it in the mosque. Brothers 4 and 5 will want to come next time. Okay, when are we all free? Next weekend? Okay, let's go to this place. Okay, so you've got 5 brothers coming now.
Yeah.
And then you all talk about that in the group chat or in the mosque amongst other people.
Yeah.
Brothers 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 want to come. And then it just grows naturally from there.
Yeah.
And then you can maybe incorporate some lectures, if you will, nothing too serious, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And go from there with it, you know. And before you know it, you've got a whole community of brothers who are just in the group chat on WhatsApp, whatever it may be, Telegram, and you just planning the next one. You know, where would we like to go? You know, why not go to an amusement park? You know, it doesn't have to be lectures all the time or chai.
Yeah.
It can be anything. It's just to get you around each other, get you being brothers or sisters, that sort of thing, and just doing it.
Yeah. Inshallah. I can't lie, I'm excited to see what you do this year, especially with your community. I'm also excited that I've got to know you this year, so inshallah there'll be a lot more that we get to meet.
You, Brother Rashid.
Yeah, absolutely. Brother David, first of all, like I said, thank you so much for joining us. This is
my pleasure.
This has been a real eye-opener for me in many different ways. Again, still as inspiring as it was when I first spoke to you. And if not, I found out so much more to inspire me. And I pray that Allah makes it easy for both of us. Allah grants us a place in Jannah, a beautiful palace for us, inshallah. Ameen. And yeah, until next time, thank you so much.
Thank you, and may Allah bless and put barakah in your projects and help them grow and strengthen and succeed.
Ameen. Ameen. I appreciate it, my brother. For now, that's it from us for today, and inshallah, join us for the next episode. But before you do that, make sure you like, share, follow, and subscribe, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.